Today we have 116 undergraduate students in Rome with us. Our footprint here in Rome really shows that kind of commitment from the university towards this city and towards making this city really part of Notre Dame's identity as well.
From the campus of Our Lady's University, this is For Good, Stories from Notre Dame, a behind-the-scenes glimpse into life under the Golden Dome and the powerful stories that drive Notre Dame to become a force for good in the world. Hello and welcome to For Good, Stories from Notre Dame. We're continuing our journey overseas, this time coming to you from the villa on the Celio in Notre Dame Rome, home to one of the university's most distinctive global centers. Rome is more than just a city. It's a living classroom, a crossroads of history, faith, and culture that helps shape Notre Dame students in meaningful and profound ways. Today, we are joined by Silvia Dall'Olio, the director of Notre Dame Rome, who has played a key role in developing the program and deepening its impact on our students over the last decade. Silvia, thanks so much for being with us today. Let's maybe begin by just saying, where are we? What building are we in? And give everybody an idea of this incredible campus and facilities that Notre Dame has here in this great eternal city of Rome.
Thank you, Lou, and thank you for having me. It's a joy to see you in Rome. I know you've been here before, but this is the student residence. We call it the villa because it is a villino that was built in the early 1900s by a noble Calabrese family. We are literally 2 blocks away from the Colosseum and about 3 blocks away from the other academic building that we have here in Rome, which is home to our classrooms and offices. So we are right outside of the city center, but in a wonderful neighborhood that still maintains a lot of its, typical Roman characteristics. We are the only American university here, and even if there are a lot of tourists nearby, this corner of the neighborhood still remains very homey, and that's how we think of it.
It is incredible to be in this traditional Roman neighborhood so close to the Colosseum, and in your classroom building, I know the rooftop, you can look down right into the Colosseum. It's just an amazing location. The facilities are superb. This villa has a special history. Could you share with us a little bit about that history and how you try to keep it alive?
Sure. As I mentioned, the villa was built by a noble family, and they used it for several decades until they made it essentially available for rent. It was rented by a family from Rome until in 1938, the Jewish community of Rome rented it out because unfortunately during those times, racial laws were passed in Italy, and all Jewish students and faculty were essentially kicked off of public schools in Italy. So the community reorganized itself and used this building as an academic building in 1938 and 1939. After which they had to move out even from here. The building was subsequently essentially rented out to the military police of Italy, the Carabinieri. That's how it's been known to the neighborhood until the university purchased it in 2016. This very deep learning space, if you will, that has inhabited these walls since the Jewish community also used it. I think we really have restored back, bringing our students in this facility. We've invited former students from the 1938, 1939 years in this building more than once. As you can imagine, we're talking about people of aging, sure. So it was very moving for them. It was moving for our students as well that got to listen to their stories.
Right, and understand a little bit about that very difficult period of history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also I think that helped establish a connection with the Jewish community of Rome that we still maintain this day. I should say that every one of our study abroad students takes a class here in Rome, which is called All Roads to Rome, which it's an introduction, historical and art historical, to the city of Rome.
Yeah.
And they are all taken also to the Jewish quarters, the Jewish ghetto. We visit the museum there, and so this is part of the way in which we keep alive that connection to the history of this building. Not the only one. We've also financed, for instance, the restoration of a 1500 Bible, Jewish Bible, through work with the Jewish community of Rome.
That's beautiful. That's very powerful, and I'm sure it has a big impact on our students. So tell us a little bit about your background. I know you've been here for 11 years. You're a distinguished academic, and now as executive director for the past 5 years. You picked a perfect time to come in here and be the director right at the start of COVID, and you had to disband the program, and you were kind of in the baptism by fire in many ways, but you're so well respected, and you lead this very diverse program here in Rome. Could you speak a little bit about your background and the responsibilities that you have today?
Certainly. So I have a PhD in acquisitional linguistics, which I received from the University in Siena, and I practice as a faculty member, so I do teach here, but as you mentioned, my administrative responsibilities are larger than that. I'm very pleased to be saying that we have a growing cohort of students that choose Rome as their study abroad destination. Well, today we have 116 undergraduate students in Rome with us for this spring semester.
And over the course of the year, more than 400?
Yes, between 400 and 450, fall, spring, and summer cohorts. We also have a growing group of graduate students, both professional students and PhD students that spend the semester usually with us, conducting research or doing work, especially in architecture.
Yeah.
And we have today about 3 postdoctoral positions also that we co-sponsor with other units on campus. So really, I would say one of the, I think, peculiar aspects of our work here is that we were born, perhaps like many others, as, the continuation of the tradition of junior year abroad.
Right.
But we've evolved into something that's much bigger than that. And I think, in a way, coming back to your original question on the facility, our footprint here in Rome really shows that kind of commitment from the university towards this city and towards making this city really part of Notre Dame's identity as well.
In some ways, it may be the most diverse range of programs and students of any of the study abroad sites when you look at all of the students that are here in Rome being the center of the Catholic Church, the leadership of it, and then the history of the Roman Empire. There's so many dynamics to this city today. What do you think are some of the characteristics that make the program here in Rome unique?
Well, you hinted at some of them. Certainly, I think the University of Notre Dame rightly prides itself for being a premier, liberal arts university. So in that tradition, and that tradition had one of its cradles really here in Rome with the classical tradition that this city really still inspires and, in a way, projects today. So that's one reason, I think, why, starting from the architecture students who have been here for more than 50 years with their own Rome program, which is an incredible year abroad.
They take their entire third year, and it's mandatory. They spend it in Rome to learn classical architecture. Yeah.
It's part of their curriculum, which is truly exceptional. But also students in the other programs that we have, while they are here, I think they can really take in what that classical tradition means and how that still has implications today. If we think of, the humanities and what they mean also at Notre Dame, for students, no matter what you study, you still have to take those fundamental courses. They, we can say they were born here. Yeah. And they continued through the Renaissance, and of course, much longer than that, up to today. Rome is a living city, though. It's not just historical portrait of the past that's frozen in history. I think it's important to say that Rome has it's a diplomatic center, it's a diplomatic hub. Non-governmental institutions are here as well. The United Nations has 5 different major agencies present in Rome.
Wow.
Food and Agriculture Organization may be the largest or the most known, but it's not the only one.
Right.
So truly our students, when they are in Rome, have access to all of these in one city that, if you think about it, is actually not that big. It still feels like a town that you can walk and you can talk to people in. The second dimension, as again you mentioned, is the presence of the Catholic Church. The heart, at least institutionally, the heart of the Catholic Church definitely is here. But this translates, I think, into a very global presence in the city that is probably unique. Certainly you can experience the global church all over the world by definition. Right. But because it all kind of comes back institutionally to Rome, our students here truly can not only know and see how the Catholic Church looks like in Italy, but really how the Catholic Church kind of deals with itself and its multiple dimensions in this city. And we make a point to at least offer the opportunity for them, whether they're Catholic or not, to see that in action.
And then you have assets through the church, like the Vatican Library, the Vatican Museum, that our students and faculty are able to tap into and collaborate with. And I mean, these are just incredibly rich, opportunities for research.
Exactly. And once again, I think it's important to stress the fact that the research is not just Roman-based or Italy-based. The wealth of manuscripts, rare books, artifacts that are preserved by the library or the Vatican museums, as well as literally dozens of archives and libraries in the city, speak to the world through centuries. So really, we have students, PhD students, who come here to study pre-Columbian art. They come here to study, of course, the Renaissance, implications of the Renaissance throughout Europe, and sacred music. We have students who study Gregorian chants. And really, you can do that from Rome, even if what you're looking at is really across the globe. Yeah,
intellectually, it's an incredibly vibrant program. But we can also add that it's very difficult to get a bad meal in Rome. I mean, just the food at every restaurant is just exquisite, delicious. My mouth is watering as I'm talking about it right now, thinking about dinner tonight. But
the weather is also miserable usually.
Yeah, the weather is beautiful, and but I am also overwhelmed by your convening power here. It seems like you have more conferences and more workshops that engage other universities and entities, the church, right here at our center. I know that we have an incredible program on Dante and Dante Alighieri, and that you've had Roberto Benigni, the famous actor and passionate Dante devotee, come here and lecture on a number of occasions. It seems like you've really opened up Notre Dame Rome to the city and the world.
Well, thank you for saying that. Certainly the collaboration with the Center for Italian Studies on campus has been fundamental to how this place was essentially brought to life and still remains to this day. So yes, Italian studies, Dante being one of the areas, is very alive in what we do here. Certainly for our students, the majority of which actually take Italian before coming or while they're here, which is, again, not to be taken for granted among peer institutions in the city.
Right.
And I think it's also, going back to what I was saying before, a sign of commitment. The student commits to an intercultural experience in coming here. But beside Italian, of course, we are open. We are truly multidisciplinary because this is the nature of also the humanities, to be not sectorial. So we are here, but we collaborate with aerospace and mechanical engineers at Sapienza. We collaborate through the KIO School with non-governmental organizations, with the community of Sant'Egidio, which is well known in the US as well, but they have headquarters here in Trastevere.
Right.
And so, yes, I think today we host about, between 45 and 50 events over the course of a year, which is not a small number for a center our size.
It's amazing. So you offer some really distinctive courses here for the students and again, in a range of topics. Could you highlight some of the courses that maybe jump off the page for you?
Certainly. So the student in a School of Architecture take a curriculum that's decided by the school itself. And those are really courses that are heavily based on the city. You could see them, walk around accompanied by their faculty members.
I remember during the summer, my son was here years ago and took a course on Roman history, and you went right into the area, the Ides of March, where Caesar and Brutus, and so they get to be on site. The classroom comes alive. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think our professors do a wonderful job in showing the city as a text. So showing the students how to interpret a city which is in front of your eyes. Rome is a layered city, and so the very first thing that they do is take them to the Church of San Clemente, which is literally 5 minutes away from here, which physically shows them from, early,
They just go underground, right?
3 layers underground to the 12th century, and you physically, in a way, trace the steps of Rome in front of your eyes. Yes.
Fantastic. So if you were to be speaking to prospective students or first and second year students, why would you want to convince them to come to Rome?
Just a couple of days ago, we had a large event with the Alumni Association, and regional directors came. And among them was a student who was in one of our cohorts in 2016. He's going to be 30 this year. So, of course, I approached him and said, "Hi, how are you doing?" So he is currently working for a medical tech corporation. He is based in Barcelona. Before landing to Barcelona, he spent some time and got a degree in Milan from Bocconi, and before that, he was in Finland.
Wow.
So I said, "How did you get there?" And he said, when I came to do the Rome semester, I went back on the airplane and I essentially swore to myself I would be coming back again, and I would like to try and build part of my career in Rome. He didn't know that when he came over here first. And I think this we see regularly with students. Changing the context changes your perspective.
Right.
And so you change your perspective on yourself, first of all, often on the others, often on the relationship with things, and also with God, which can happen in Rome as well.
Right.
And so I really think that you can do that in any city. But Rome remains a city that is truly unique because it can speak to this multiple dimension of yourself. That I think, especially for somebody who's young and still kind of trying to determine who they want to do. I don't want to use too big of a word, but I think has a vocational dimension, not necessarily in a religious term, but again, in discovering yourself. And in the end, this is what, the people that would do the Grand Tour coming from Europe, that's what they were looking for. And so I think still to this day, this is true of our students.
That's beautifully said. That really, it does open up all kinds of possibilities for our students. Maybe one final question, Silvia. What is your hope for the future of this program? I mean, it's already so dynamic, but you must have a vision for how it will grow and develop going forward.
Thank you for the question. I think this is a question that I often kind of wrestle with a little bit because since before the pandemic, which we can think of as a kind of a Caesar time there, we've grown 50% in terms of student numbers. We've grown 50% in terms of events number. And we've grown way more than that in terms of presence of graduate students here. How much more can we grow? Today, we are essentially at capacity. So, as I mentioned, this is the student residence. We have almost half of our student population who's not residing here because there are not enough beds, which is great. It's a fantastic problem to have. Right. And the same is true of our academic building because of the graduate students' presence, the postdoctoral students' presence, the faculty that we have, the academic conferences and events. We essentially have one office that we can share with visitors coming from campus or from other institutions. So if the trajectory that the university seems to be on with regards to their engagement with Rome and in Rome keeps going at the same pace that we've seen so far, well, maybe we should be thinking about, okay, where do we go next? And there is a question of space. There is a question of more engagement from departments and colleges on campus. There is a question of more partnerships in the city or cultivating more deep the partnerships that we have. Right. All of these, as you can imagine, of course, is tremendously exciting. And of course, I don't know every single institution in Europe, but in Italy, I think I can say there is nobody else who's doing this much.
That's
so
fantastic.
We're very proud, I think, to be part of this.
Well, congratulations, and thank you for your extraordinary leadership and the great work of your team. You're providing experiences for our students at every level, undergraduate, architecture, our professional students, and PhD and postdocs in ways that is changing lives and making a really important impact on the world. So thank you.
Thank you for saying this. Truly, this is a team effort. Nothing can be done by myself, but yes, thank you for saying this.
Well, no, thank you so much. And we're so blessed to have Silvia leading this program. Notre Dame Rome has a tremendous impact on our students. And the best way to understand this impact is to hear directly from a student living and learning here. I'm pleased now to introduce Margarita Miyares, a Notre Dame junior currently studying here in the Rome program. Tita, as you go by, could you tell us a little bit about your path to Notre Dame?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Nani. It's lovely to be here today. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, and I'm the oldest of 4 children and 9 grandchildren. All of my grandparents emigrated to Miami from Cuba. Therefore, I always really kept my options for college very much open. I didn't have any family that had ever gone to Notre Dame, and I didn't really have a strong connection to any other university. During high school, I decided I wanted to pursue a major in architecture, which really helped me make my list for colleges because it helped narrow it down in terms of the different programs. And the Notre Dame program with the 5 years and 1 entire year in Rome really stood out to me with their classical approach, and that sort of made its way towards the top of my list. I visited Notre Dame with my family in April of my junior year of high school very briefly, and then we visited again in September of my senior year for a football game, which is when we really all fell in love with it, and I think at that point it became my top choice, and I decided to apply early action. I applied early action to 5 colleges. The first one to be released was Notre Dame, and I was accepted. 2 days later, I was accepted into another university, and at that point I withdrew the other 3 because I knew that...
It was amazing because you were accepted in the top Ivy League schools. I remember, back at that point, and it was uncertain for a period of time whether or not you were going to choose Notre Dame. How did you choose Notre Dame in the end?
There were a lot of signs that pointed me in that direction. To begin, during my visit in September with my family, my lucky number is 5, and it was my father's lucky number and my grandfather's lucky number, and I continuously saw the number 5 throughout our visit. And actually, the day that I opened my acceptance letter, I was driving home from school, and I was at a stoplight. It turned green, and I look up, and the car that had turned and was in front of me was a Jeep, and the tire said Fighting Irish, and it had the Notre Dame logo. And I think at that point I knew that this was the right decision for me.
Your family too, of deep faith.
Yes.
And so this was more than just kind of like superstition. This seemed providential.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Fantastic. I don't have a lucky number. I got to work on it. I need a lucky number. I'm missing out on that. So tell us a little bit about your Notre Dame experience. Since you've been here, really kind of working very hard as an architecture student, and now in your third year here in Rome, tell us how things have evolved for you. Things have taken...
As I mentioned, and as Mr. Nani mentioned, I came in as an architecture major. That was something I had decided in high school. During my senior year of high school, actually, after I had finished applying to all of these colleges, I suffered a severe concussion. And at the same time, my aunt had a ruptured brain aneurysm, and all of this made me very interested in neurology and in potentially pursuing a path in medicine. But architecture was something I was very passionate about. My high school was pretty small, so I had never taken an architecture class or an art class, and I really wanted to see what that would lead to. So I sort of kept my plans. I finished the first year at Notre Dame as an architecture student, which I think the first year for everybody is very introductory. You're sort of just learning the ways. I hadn't done a formal design course or studio course or anything of that sort, so I decided to see it through my second year. I actually took the introductory psychology course, which was one of the prerequisites for the neuroscience and behavior major, just to see what I thought. And it was my favorite class that I took first year, but I said, let me see it through second year, let me do the studio courses and see what I think. I did that, and I think by the summer after my second year, I was very seriously considering switching paths because architecture was something I was very passionate about. I really enjoyed learning about it, and I'm very grateful for the years that I had as an architecture student. But last summer, after interning in Miami, I really felt this strong calling towards medicine because I felt that the passion I had for it and the experience that I had for it, I just felt I could really do more good in the world.
So you really had, in some ways, the change of majors and everything happened here in Rome.
It did.
How did the team, the faculty and leaders of the program help to facilitate this change, which is not unique, but it's uncommon?
Right. As I mentioned, I had thought about it over the summer, and I came to Rome because I knew it was going to be an incredible experience, and I knew that I would regret it for the rest of my life if I didn't come to Rome. So I did come to Rome. I finished my first year as an architecture major, but I began the conversation with the advisors around September or October, and I just sort of communicated my interest, my passion, what the options for a major would even be at this point, because I was already 2.5 years into my undergraduate career. And every advisor just pushed me to pursue my interest, whatever that may be, as unconventional as it may be. And everyone really just pushed me to be my best, which I'm very grateful for. I initially thought that if I switched paths, I was going to have to go back to campus for the spring, but some of the advisors said, why don't you switch but stay in Rome and just switch to the regular undergraduate program, which I didn't even know was an option. And I was just extremely, extremely pleased to see how everybody really... That's really
one of the things I love about Notre Dame is the faculty here really encourages you to pursue your passion. And if you change your mind, you're not in this kind of inexorable path. So it's great to see how you've adapted. Tell us a little bit about Rome. What has come to life for you? How has this city and this experience changed you, opened you up?
It's been an incredible experience in every way. It's also, I will say, probably been the greatest year of personal growth for me. Just looking back at where I was a year ago, I was an architecture major. I never thought I was going to attend medical school, really. I think if anybody had told me that while I was in Rome, I would decide, in Rome of all places, that I wanted to be a doctor, I would have thought they were crazy.
But it's a good place to have a calling.
Yes.
It's a good place.
It is. So I just think it's very much widened my perspective, and it's just shown me how when you have a passion, and maybe that can be coming from multiple places, whether it be medicine, science, architecture, you can forge your own path and really merge your different passions into something that works for you and something where you can go down that path and really make a change, because it's just a matter of making different things work together. And I think Rome has really shown me that. It's widened my perspective. I will also say navigating a new city, navigating a foreign language. My first language is Spanish, so Italian has been a little bit easier for me to comprehend and to speak. But just learning a new place is always a challenge. And it's also really deepened my faith. I think, of course, Rome, of all places, is a place where you see the Catholic faith and the presence of God everywhere. But, I mean, there's a church on every corner. I've made it a sort of like a thing to go to a different church every Sunday. And sometimes I'll just stumble upon one. Sometimes I have a plan. Other times I'll just walk around and find one. And I think it's just really deepened my faith in many ways.
That's fantastic. Is there a particular course that you've taken that has really spoken deeply to you here?
So I actually just finished the Community Engaged Learning course, which is a required course for all study abroad students in the Rome undergraduate program. And it's just a week-long course. It's 1 credit. I believe there are 4 or 5 different sections, and the section that I chose was Perspectives on the Holy Land. And this was a very interesting course because we really delved into the topic of Jerusalem and the Palestinian conflict, and that was something I was very unfamiliar with.
And it was less from just a political perspective. It really showed kind of the humanistic side of, of both perspectives, right?
Yes. So it was from the Christian perspective. During the course, we visited the Focolari movement, which is a movement that is very much focused on just the gospel and kindness, right? And spreading unity throughout the world. And our final project for the course was to write a letter to Pope Francis, actually, about the conflict.
So would you recommend this program to students that are going to either first year, second year students at Notre Dame, or about to be admitted and enrolling at Notre Dame in the future?
Absolutely. I think a lot of students will ask me, you know, it's very nerve-wracking to come to a completely different country, a completely different culture, and especially if you've never even been abroad, which I know is very common with my peers. So I think I would push everyone to, because I think it really widens your perspectives, and I think everyone sort of finds their niche and something that will really speak to them while they are here, whatever that may be. And I just think it's an incredible experience for everyone.
So everybody seems to be transformed by this experience. You're going to be returning to campus with a whole new major and a whole new direction for your life. Have your parents and your family had a chance yet to come and visit you?
They have not. They're coming in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
Which is very exciting. So they're all coming over for my younger siblings' spring break.
So it'll be a great opportunity for you to show them a city that you've fallen in love with.
Yes.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, we're really blessed that you chose Notre Dame, and we're really excited about your future. And Tita, thanks so much for taking the time to share your story with us today. We always kind of invite our viewers to join with us in a prayer to Our Lady. So would you be willing to kind of lead us in a Hail Mary?
Absolutely. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death.
Thank you again, Tita. Take care. God bless from Rome, Italy, and go Irish.